Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Impeachment. American Crime Story Impeachment?
Yeah.
Or Impeachment American Crime Story?
American Crime Story, Impeachment.
Episode 6.
Manhandled. Yeah.
I'm
feeling manhandled.
Well, this was a particularly good episode of television.
It was very good. It was very good.
We're going to get into specifics and stuff like that, but there was a point in the beginning where I was like, I do not know if I can watch this in the first 15 minutes.
Sure.
And, thankfully the show had lots of not quite twists and turns. It wasn't a bottle episode in that we were all over the place, but it was a bottle episode in that the story was very contained to these 8 hours using
12.
these players, 12 hours.
Yeah. Too long.
For those parameters, there were some twists and turns. There were some nice juggling of power and dynamics and stuff in a way that really sort of made the viewing experience not only tolerable, but for my money, kind of thrilling.
Yeah. Monica Lewinsky, turns out, is a sassy little bitch.
Well, not exclusively, not the entire time, but guess what happens when you push people sometimes?
That guy, Jackie Bennett.
It was like dealing with my dad. And I would say that that's maybe a harsh comparison, but it's a critique that was well earned in his 30 years of parenthood.
Wow. He was so bad.
So I did want to say, I wanted to start with just commenting how good everybody was in this episode. The dynamics were fascinating. Yeah. I loved his good cop, bad cop with Colin Hanks.
Yeah. Although I don't think Colin Hanks was on board with the good cop, bad cop.
No.
Colin Hanks, Mike Emick wasn't like, let's do good cop, bad cop. He just was like, I'm going to be a reasonable human. And then Jackie Bennett came in and was like, I'm going to threaten this 24-year-old girl.
He was very kind of like a male counterpart to Linda Tripp.
Sure.
He was kind of that masculine, I'm more important than, or I think I'm more important than I am. And I'm going to get the job done and shoot first, ask questions later. And it was just like. He was
nauseating.
And it was very, he was throwing his weight around. And there's even a line in the episode where Colin was like, oh, do you want to go make her cry again? Like, so good. Make the little girl. And we commented that Beanie is, I would say, significantly shorter than Monica Lewinsky.
It's actually not that bad, but I think it is about 3 inches.
Her stature is different than Monica's. And it was very apparent in this episode.
Yeah.
But for stage setting, we pick up where the show started. Mm-hmm. Linda Tripp has set up Monica. This is when the FBI comes, right?
Yep.
FBI comes in. They have Clinton is meant to testify.
He's testifying about Paula Jones.
About the Paula Jones suit.
Yeah.
So they're on a time crunch. They are trying to get Monica to cooperate with them.
Yeah.
And then do stuff for them in order to pin or to stick it
to trap Clinton. They basically want her to call Betty and Blair Underwood and the president so that they can tape all of 3 of these people saying, yeah, I obviously know you had a relationship.
Verna, Jordan, and Bill, I get. Betty, and I don't think I'm falling for it just because she's a woman, but it's like she's the president's secretary.
Yeah.
And we're getting into territory that we explored in this most recent administration, and it's terrible. Yeah. But isn't it her job to protect the president?
It's not like she wouldn't be qualified for immunity like Hillary, because Hillary is married to Bill, so she. But there's
an ends justifies the means thinking where it's like when your position is when your job is a certain thing, you can. Depending on what the end is, I don't know. The Betty thing that seemed like I was like, they're going too far trying to catch Betty. Because what are they trying to?
I don't know that I think they're just trying to get proof. I don't think they're trying to send Betty away for anything. They're just trying to get another person to confirm. Yes, I knew about this relationship. Yes, we know that this exists.
So they have this sting operation, Operation Prom Night, which was
disgusting.
Well, it was gross enough on its own because I thought it was merely addressing the youth of the target.
Sure.
But it's worse than that. It's because you're spending a half hour in a hotel room with a girl. So Linda meets up with Monica. Mm-hmm. They grab her and they put her in a bag and they carry her up to the Ritz-Carlton. And this is all very illegal, correct?
Well, it feels illegal.
They said everything they needed to say. The words were said. But they made her feel.
No. It was like the spirit of the law was being addressed, but the letter of the law was not being said.
They made her feel like she did not have a choice.
Yeah.
And
like she had to, like the way they phrased it, the way that she heard how they phrased it was, if you leave this room, you're going to federal prison for 28 years.
Which we hear later from her father's lawyer that he was like, federal prosecution for lying about an affair in a civil case?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. No. And back to Monica's perspective, it's like she's having to deal with several things happening.
Yeah.
Number one, an affair is coming out. Number two, an affair is coming out that has global ramifications. Yeah. Number three, a betrayal of what was to this point her best friend. Public humiliation, private humiliation. Yeah. Her future is being threatened.
Like just imagine like the 10% or whatever of this situation that she's in. That's like just terrible on its own is that every man in that room, and there are like 40 men in that room.
There was one woman.
Every single one of them knows she had sex with the president. Mm-hmm. That's horrifying. Mm-hmm. Horrifying. And
again, global implications. Yeah. It's like I had a school of 1,200 talking about me. I didn't have the world potentially talking about me.
Yeah, it just is like, but yeah, I mean, horrible. But also, I mean, that's the thing is like to this point, she had like 3 people that knew. Like her mom knew she kissed the president, Betty knew, and then
her friend.
and then Linda Tripp knew. But now there's these like 12 men in this hotel room who also now know.
Metaphorically manhandling her.
100%.
All over the place.
And so now she's just like every new person who knows about it's just like compounding the like shame of this situation on her. And it's just like, ugh.
I mentioned last episode that I had seen an interview with the real Paula Jones where she was slamming the show and the whole thing. It was super weird. Really dumb and a huge misstep on her part. Because she had the audacity to say that the show was treating Monica with kid gloves. And I would beg to differ because
she's a crazy piece of work. Absolutely balls to the wall bananas.
Her mother has to wrestle the phone out of her hands
more than once.
But played by Academy Award winner Mira Sorvino.
Yep.
Mighty Aphrodite, Romy White.
A little bafflingly played by her, but I
thought she was great.
It works.
I thought she was great.
No, I think she's super great. It's baffling that she was cast in this.
Because that's what Ryan Murphy does.
Yeah. Well, and she was in Hollywood. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's doing a fantastic job. She's doing interesting things.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing that she always does, give or take. I don't know. I was really loving the energy and the dynamic.
Yeah.
I thought that was so interesting. It was extremely relatable to me to be like, I need to talk to my mom.
Get my mom here.
My mom's going to come in and yell at all of you. Somebody needed to take control. And
well, that's the thing is like, I just, like I'm going back to remembering when I was 24, it's like that kind of thing where I'm just like, I don't know what I would have done.
When he was like, situation. You're 24 years old, you don't need your mommy. And I was like, I am 36 years old. And I was like, I beg to differ.
Well,
your counsel is counsel.
Yeah, counsel is counsel for sure. And that's part of the thing that's so annoying is like, and what feels semi-illegal is like not letting her call anyone without Jackie Bennett breathing down her neck about it. That's inappropriate.
Well, because
if it's not illegal, it's unethical and immoral.
There's the line where she was like, I need to talk to my lawyer. And he's like, your lawyer is in on this. This is a co-conspirator. Yeah. Do you think that's wise? And I was like, I don't know. I would need to talk to my lawyer to find out.
Lawyer about it.
And so, fine, maybe I can't use that guy, but I'm not going to use whatever Yahoo you pull into this.
Then Colin Hanks hands her the card that he already has of a public defender. And I was like, I'm not calling the public defender that you handed me.
Yeah, so her father her father's lawyer for my money was a really interesting scene.
Yeah, I like that guy a lot. His name is Fred Melamed. I love him. He's in all kinds of stuff. Oh, he was in WandaVision. Mm-hmm. He was the boss in WandaVision. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The instinct for this show, I've enjoyed the show as a whole. I've found the first 5 episodes to be certainly not baffling because we needed to spend that time emotionally with these people in order for these stakes to land.
And for my money, I kind of needed the context because I was young enough to not like really care about what was happening, like logistically.
We've said this several times, but knowing something and understanding something are two very different sides of a coin. So I have been enjoying the show. And I do like the way, because again, you know, this is all information that many of us, if not most of us, know. So I do like the way that they are giving us some of the information and giving us these characters. Like there's this scene with her father and the lawyer where they meet in like an empty ballroom. And it's like a surprisingly touching scene where I'm now suddenly endeared to both her father and the lawyer.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's necessary to make us care about two characters that, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily be inclined to give. Like, we know they're important, but, you know.
Yeah, like, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he is her lawyer for at least part
the rest of.
I'm not 100% sure, but William Ginsburg sounds like a familiar name to me.
It was very interesting. And again, I liked the notion of bringing her parents in to sort of defend and protect her.
Yeah.
It does, you know, reaffirm her naivety, her
sure.
youth.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, that's what I was trying to say before is that like, I think back to when I was 24 and I'm just like, I couldn't have made a decision like this by myself.
I would be too inclined. I would have Stockholm syndromed with Colin Hanks.
Maybe.
And I can't tell if she was intentionally doing it. And also, I don't know if that then means Monica was intentionally doing this in reality. But it did seem like she was trying to endear herself to him. She brought up her grandmother.
Maybe.
She brought up, I'll never have children. I'll never get married. When they went to TGI whatevers, where the other officer had a chicken nacho pasta pie.
Sounds amazing.
What on God's...
Sounds so good.
Okay, explain to me what it is.
Well, I would imagine that it's like a variation on like a Cajun chicken pasta, except it's Southwestern instead of Cajun.
But it's a pie, so we're dealing with a chicken pot pie with nachos?
I suspect it's just... No, it's like nacho flavored. I suspect it's just baked in a skillet.
It took me out both times. I was like...
It sounds kind of good to me. I'd like to know what it is.
We need to pause. I said she was endearing herself.
Oh, well, no, because you were talking about like she said she'd never get married or have kids, and it's just like she didn't because of this, because it ruined her life and her reputation for so long. It's so bad.
Well,
she said she's had
she
trouble
also
dating
might not
time.
be like
what.
If this is any indication,
well,
girlfriend material might not be her specialty. Maybe motivational speaking is more.
Okay. To be fair, again, to her being 24 years old.
I'm joking. This is
That is the being 24 years old. I don't think that I would go batshit crazy over a man today. Like, I think I'm past that. Yes. And she is deep in the batshit crazy to the point where she's just like, I have to call Bill. I have to warn him. And it's like, that's more conspiracy.
I think I said, but I was like, I was waiting for her mother to hit her in the head with the phone.
Like, put it down. Smack her on the nose with a newspaper.
You are a gigantic fan of Colin Hanks.
Love him
I've
so much.
always been a little bit mystified by it.
Oh my God, I love him so much.
He's fine to me. I will say he has grown on me. And in particular, this role is very interesting because he's obviously, as I mentioned, kind of the good cop. But he's of these
still
people,
slimy. It's almost more insidious because he like she's in the other room and he's like, I never said you couldn't call your lawyer. And it's just
I disagree. I think he's trying to do his job. I think of all of these people, he's the one trying to do his job. Sure. Everyone else has an agenda.
Sure. That's fair. That has been his, because he was the one in last week's episode who was like, we don't have any proof of anything. Can we drop this for the love of God? Okay, fair enough.
He doesn't look like his dad. He sounds like his dad. There was a handful of times in this where I was like, Woody? Like,
I think he looks enough like Tom Hanks. That's what I said, is he looks
It's not a carbon copy, though.
It's not a carbon copy. He looks enough like her to be very endearing, even if he's playing kind of a skeevy character. But then I think he has enough of his self, or his mother, who is not Rita Wilson, that it like makes a difference and it allows him to be his own thing.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of his like affability comes from Tom. And I don't know. I've always liked him. I watched the original Roswell when it was on in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he played the Alex character, and I just loved him. I thought he was so great. I love him so much to this day. Everything.
Get over it.
Yeah. That was so mean. When we were watching the show, he was like, yeah, get over it. And I was like, no,
I will not. And I was like, no, the movie Get Over It.
I was like, oh, right.
I liked him in that.
Yeah. I get it now. Yeah.
Linda Tripp. The look on her face when they dismissed her.
Well, especially because they were like still in the room together and she was like, I am just minutes away from the president finding out. And it's like, bitch, no.
All the work I've done.
This is nothing. Also, you don't like this president. So who cares what he thinks about the work you've done?
But she just has this look like it was like she just got what she wanted in the past like couple of days.
Yeah.
And then when she was dismissed, it was like, I don't get to go to the ball.
Yeah.
And like, did she think she was going to be in the room?
With Monica?
Yeah, like with all of this stuff. But
Ugh.
So apparently them running into each other in the mall is real. That is the last time they saw or spoke to each other.
Oh my God. I cannot imagine.
All three of you shrieked, like gasped.
Okay. I cannot fathom having just ruined someone's life who I was actually close to and had been for like over a year.
And they made it clear she felt
bad.
The betrayal.
But then all she needed was a little retail therapy. She just needed to go to the body shop.
So it's funny. I did not have that. I think that's fair. I think that's totally a fair. But I sort of saw it as kind of her in a daze and not knowing what to do. So going through the motions.
Go the fuck home.
For what? For who? Her thoughts? To be alone?
No, she can shriek at her daughter.
When she said that, I was like, lady. I was like, you only have...
Nobody.
You have nobody. And now you're going to be...
Now you're going to be a dick to your daughter who has to love you?
I have a slightly more... empathetic? It's not empathetic. I have a slightly different take on Linda than certainly Will and you guys. I don't like her by any means, but I do in that scene. I could relate to that. I could see doing something and being like, well, I'm going to disassociate for like 2 hours and wander through the mall and buy something I don't need, which I think says I'm not saying your interpretation is wrong, but I thought it was interesting. I thought it was so interesting to have them come face to face.
I think it goes back to that thing about me where I have dignity and shame. I feel shame for my actions when they're inappropriate. And so I think I would want to get as far away from the location of what I had just done as possible, not just downstairs into a different storefront. It's unreal. I cannot believe it.
The two officers or agents or whatever came to get more details from her, and she waxed poetic about the importance of the White House. And I'm up to here with that kind of rhetoric.
Oh my God.
I get it and I understand, but also I'm just sort of like, it's a weapon that the right is using right now.
Well, especially for us today, there is no dignity left in the White House. Nothing, no dignity exists.
They said in a behind the scenes thing that they had a decision at the beginning that they weren't going to make any Trump comments or
they're not making them.
We're making.
Yeah.
There's inferences, but like the Kavanaugh's
sure.
Whatever that's called, nudge or they weren't going to be doing that.
Okay.
And they haven't really. So the other real thing that I think really needs to be gotten into is Ann Coulter and George Conway and whoever the third guy is.
Okay. I did not know who that guy was playing.
Oh, it's George Conway.
Kellyanne Conway's husband. I had no idea. No idea until I looked it up and I was like, fuck me.
I don't know how challenging this is for Kobe, but it is.
But she's doing it.
Oh, it's fantastic. And it's so necessary. She's such a breath of fresh air in the series. So she literally said that she had a conversation with Ryan, and the angle they approached it with is she is the only person, both the character and Kobe is the only person in this show that's allowed to have fun.
Okay.
So, and that is very apparent in her performance.
Apparent.
And the thing is, we talked a little bit about this in our first episode, but my opinions on Ann Coulter are slightly more nuanced than the average person. Do not ever in a million years and mistake that for me saying that I like her or have, sympathy or empathy with her. But my issue is she is doing a thing. She is performing a role. She's doing a shtick. If the right had comedy or performance art, she is that. I find some of what she thinks she's doing to be interesting. I just think my personal beliefs are she's so clearly missing the mark.
Yeah, on everything.
I think she could be so much more powerful if she pivoted 40%.
In that instance, she's
a provocateur.
In that instance, she's like Linda Tripp in that she is trying to make herself powerful in a man's world, like in a man's way.
Well, and I mean, she's a female misogynist.
Yeah, which
is one of I find it fascinating.
It is fascinating. It is super fascinating, but it also.
But she is like Ann Coulter is performing.
Okay, but I am not convinced because I need to see her drop the act.
Well,
or else I don't believe it's.
No, I know, and at this point, it's like I don't think there is like a part where she ends and it begins. I think it's become that. But my point is, I think she's used her powers, and not even for evil. I think she's used her powers for stupid. Is my issue. That's where I'm at. I think she could have done far. I think she could have done far better if she went the more. And this is 10-year-old like language I'm using, but if she went a more libertarian route than she did, like, I don't know. I find her interesting.
She could have easily done.
I find her role in this interesting.
She could have easily done more damage if she had been a little more sneaky about it. She keeps saying the quiet thing out loud.
But again, she's doing it to provoke people. She's doing it to get reactions.
Yeah, and
that only works for so
long. Yeah.
I was going to be like, Madonna was only cute for a certain point, and then it's like, okay, you need a new act. Like you need need to mature or whatever. And it's just sort of
like now it's just like white noise.
I'm not trying to infer that she doesn't believe these things.
Yeah.
It's just I think you know what I mean.
I definitely know what you mean. He means the right thing. He's fine.
And it's certainly close to the right thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit of a
apologist.
Not apologist, but it's like I really hate the term contrarian because I don't think I'm a contrarian, but I do resist the urge to fall completely in line with what is expected. And, I tend to try and look at things.
Sometimes you can.
Regardless, this isn't about me.
You opened this line of questioning.
I did. But the amount of joy that one shot of Kobe laying on the couch brought me when they're prattling on.
Well, so she brings over all the tapes and she brings all the tapes to George Conway's apartment, all the tapes, 6 bottles of champagne. George Conway says, "Why did you bring 6 bottles of champagne?" And I was like, "That's not enough, boo." And so they pop the champagne and start listening to the tapes, and then it is presumably many hours later, and she is just lying down, and she's like, "Oh, God."
They are prattling on about lettuce. It was very, and another thing I like
is the layout of the hiking trail.
And she's just like,
yeah.
And because the line, she was like, I don't know whether I'm intrigued or like,
yeah. Oh, man.
But yeah, it was very, very interesting. But even there, because the consensus now is that George Conway is, I don't know, I guess he's a cartoon character too. I know he's different than his wife.
I don't know.
But he basically is saying, or maybe it was the other man, but they're saying the refrain that everybody keeps saying is like, okay, fine. So he screwed an intern.
He got blowjobs in the Oval Office. Who gives a shit?
This doesn't mean this is not.
Yeah, because the reason they need her to call Vernon Jordan is so that she can be like, hey, the president made you get me that job, right? Mm-hmm. And he'll be like, yeah, definitely, which he probably wouldn't be that stupid since he's a lawyer, but that's what they're trying to do.
It's also just, they said quid pro quo, and I just...
It's like, I can't. That's where I am with you with Betty, where it's like, Betty doesn't know everything. And it's like, they really need the Vernon Jordan part to be like, the president told you to get her a job. That's what they need. And so the rest of it is kind of moot at that point.
Her mother showed up, took a decent amount of control.
Yeah.
Then her father, the lawyer, showed up. Do you have any thoughts on the lawyer? When he was like, listen here, you motherfucker.
Oh my God, I loved it.
Did you? Okay.
I loved it. I hope that that's real. I hope that he really was like, and he also was just a malpractice lawyer. So for the fact of him being able to be like, you're holding her on no grounds. She's been there for 12 hours. You can't force her to do any of this. You kept her from a lawyer. You kept her from her mother. You kept her from all of this stuff. Literally, fuck you. I think it's brilliant. The
relief when he's like, walk out that door, nothing can happen. Yeah. Nothing will happen. That as a viewer, I was just sort of like,
well, it's especially the moment where he's like, I know that the Ritz-Carlton has a fax machine. You could write this on a piece of paper right now and fax it to me immediately. I know that this exists.
But he's the one who was like, they don't have the power. And then that he was that's like, why
he was like, so the fact that you won't do it proves to me that you have no authority to offer any kind of a deal, and there's no sense in her being in there. You're trying to basically frighten her into doing your bidding, and that's not appropriate. And I do love that. I mean,
because I was with her mother, where it was like, okay, fine, I would cooperate, but no, I'm not calling
calls.
Betty.
No,
fuck off. Like,
I'm not calling Betty so you can record her perjuring herself too. Absolutely not. No. So I did really like that he basically was like, and 17th of all, you've been in the wrong for a half a whole day.
Let me count the ways.
Yeah.
Then they leave. Her mother grabs her fur coat.
Amazing.
And they walk out the door, and she turns around and thanks them.
It has very, very Marie Antoinette, I'm sorry I stepped on your toe energy.
I gasped.
Yeah.
That was a good.
Yeah.
So her and her mother went home. She kind of hit rock bottom. I just love, I don't know. It was very real to me, where it's like when you fuck up and you call your mom, and it's just like, I love that her having an affair with this man is nothing to her parents. They're kind of
like fine.
Like who amongst us hasn't?
Well, I mean, that's the thing too, is it's like the affair is never the thing that should have been the thing. Mm-hmm. It's always the perjury that should have been the thing. Yeah. But also it should have been the president's perjury. Monica Lewinsky shouldn't have been involved in this at all. Mm-hmm. It's like so bad that she was involved at this level of this scandal.
And then just the shot of Marsha, where it's like she can't.
Yeah.
She can't
do it.
Take this away from.
So I read that profile of Monica that she did before the show started, and she was like, there were years where I had to shower with the door open so that my mom could hear me.
Really?
Yeah, because she was suicidal for a long time, and she couldn't. Her mom was like making her shower with the door open so that she could like so it wouldn't be locked and she could get in there if anything happened and everything. And it's like bad. Not to go there. Well, I mean, yeah, I will go there. This just goes to show you that no matter how bad things are, it could always get better. Yeah. Like Monica, like we said, Monica's doing good fine right now.
Yeah. So if you're out there in a similar situation, it always has.
There's always the potential to get better.
The capability to get better.
For sure.
This too shall pass.
Yeah. And what's the likelihood that you're about to be humiliated on a global scale? Probably just like 5 people.
There's actually, I wish
you'll be fine.
Maria Bamford has
really
a routine because she her actions led to one of her dogs dying. Oh. And she had a very hard time with it. Yeah. And if you know Maria Bamford, she's a comedian. She has
mental problems,
health issues. She joined support groups for people who were indirectly responsible or like involved in deaths of loved ones.
Yeah.
And she's like, I guarantee you, she was like, no matter what you've done, no matter how
someone's
horrible,
done something worse,
how unspeakable it is, she's like, Google it. Someone's on a book tour right now
about it.
And
sure.
it was very sort of like,
yeah, I get that.
So I think that's a good place to stop. Was there anything else that you
okay, I loved that she had to explain to Colin Hanks what a decanter was. That was hilarious. And I also
it also kind of shows, because they've made a little bit of a to-do that she's
wealthy.
Yeah, and I liked that sort of, it wasn't a balance of power, but it was sort of like a reminder of who these people are.
For sure. So I loved that. I loved that the Crate and Barrel employee was like, do I need to call 911 about what's happening in this scenario? And then I guess the waitress didn't really do anything funny. No. Yeah, no, I love those two moments. I was like, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine having to explain to a grown man who works at the FBI who must go to nice parties what a decanter is.
I think it happens frequently.
Oh my God.
So I am looking forward to next week's episode.
That's the one called The Assassination of Monica Lewinsky.
Mm-hmm. Meaning I think it's going to be a good episode.
Well, yeah.
I think we might get Edie Falco.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, still, if you're clocking it out there, still no Edie Falco in this episode. So we had her in the premiere, and that's it.
And the third one, she was lying in bed asleep.
No, that does not count. That could have been her stand-in. That could have been anybody.
Got her paycheck.
That could have been Beanie laying in that bed. Could have been anyone.
Said Sarah Paulson. She's Hillary's stand-in.